Assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. Now welcome with another important training session, especially relevant to Saudi Aramco because I got a lot of queries, especially from the freshers who are truly wishing to join Saudi Aramco as a work permit receiver. So even though they have passed third party, most of the trainees, I would say, they have passed third party exam from different training centers approved by Saudi Aramco, but directly one more exam truly they have to attempt, before they'll be approved to work as a Saudi Aramco approved WPR. So I just created this important video, and I'm sure it will be helping a lot of people, whoever is wishing to work as a WPR with Saudi Aramco projects. So just be focused, and I would say I just prepared 4 sample tests, and this 4 sample exam tests, I would say you just need to make sure you understand the right answer logically. So whichever option is correct, just focus on that. The rest of the 3, don't waste your energy. That's my suggestion to all of you. So let's start from sample exam number 1. Like the number 1 question is, who must sign an issuer certificate? Who must sign an issuer's certificate? His superintendent. Okay. Let me repeat again. Just focus on the right answer. Forget about all 3 options. If you want to invest more time on other options, that's your choice. But what I'm gonna suggest you, take the question and let your brain first of all give the answer. Otherwise, the answer is already in the option. So focus on the question and have the right answer in your mind. And these 4 sample exam, the moment you will review this video again and again before you go for Aramco exam, trust me, you will be able to achieve 100% inshallah. Like the next question is, how long a certificate be issued for? So it's 2 years. Why do we use work permit system? To prevent accidents? Quite logical. Number 4 question is, we use work permit in hazardous areas. 2, for what? Be sure hazards and precautions are known. What are the 2 important reasons for using these work permits? So to communicate and control work, because it's a way of communication. It's a kind of communication between Saudi Aramco and between the contractors, between the issuer and the receiver actually. So they just communicate to each other just to control, have a better control on their work, at the project site. Now, what are the, the work permit list actually? Because what we list there, minimum safety precautions. Forget about all other options. But if you have more energy, you can invest. That's your own choice. But I'm gonna suggest take the question and try to understand logically, technically the right answer in your mind. Now, work permit must be issued for what? Specific work at a specific location. That's important. Do you need a work permit in a garden? Of course not. But remember, this Aramco exam is more easier than the third-party exam. Like in third-party exam for WPR, you have might be 50 questions, and minimum 40 questions must be right, like just to achieve 80% marks. Okay. No, a restricted area requires what? That work permit are issued. Now, restricted area includes what? Pump stations, sewage plants, and wells, etc. Now, do you need a work permit to work in a hydrocarbon processing equipment? So your technical logic says, yes, it's a hazardous area, it's a red zone area, so of course you need a work permit. If it is not been decided, if an area is restricted, who makes the final decision? Of course, it's a department manager. Okay. When can issue decide a work permit is not needed in a restricted area? When he decides the work is low risk. Example of low risks, just like sweeping, visual inspection, and minor cleaning, that is the right option for this question. A work permit issuer is responsible for what? Equipment or work area. An issuer has which responsibilities? Define what? Safety precautions and signs the work permit as well. Now, a receiver is a senior craftsman. No, the receiver's main responsibilities include what? Complying with safety precautions and signing the permit. 19, which is designated representative sometimes used, Why is designated representative sometimes used? Because the issuer may be busy and need help, right? What can the designated representative do? Inspect the work site. What joint responsibilities did issuers and receivers share? Safety in the work site. So it's a mutual responsibility from both parties, Now, question number 22 for the first sample exam test is, why is it important that the issuer tell the receiver about safety hazards he may find at a job site? The receivers may not have worked in the area before. That is the reason, actually. What two things must the issuer do before issuing a work permit? Check the receiver's certificate and get counter signature. That is the major responsibility, I would say, at the shoulders of the issuer. Now, who goes on the joint site inspection? JSI, of course, issuer and receiver. The last question of the example, this test exam number 1, what two things must the receiver do before receiving a work permit? Read the permit and agree to all conditions. And I always say, the moment you signed a permit is not like an ordinary document anymore. It's a legal document. It's a legal document. You both parties, like receiver and the issuer, both are agreeing that the hazards are identified, proper controls are in place, and the right set of communication is already been done through toolbox meetings, and nothing will go wrong, inshallah. So that was the sample test number 1, and I hope it will help you a lot. So same way, we have sample test number 2. Where question number 1 for sample exam test number 2, where the receiver keep the work permit after it is issued, displayed at the job site, or keep in its possession. When can a receiver leave the job site? When the issuer has given permission, indeed, right? What is discussed during GSI, scope of work and equipment to be used, very much important to discuss. When would the issuer check to make sure equipment has been properly prepared for maintenance work? During the GSI, joint site inspection. Why do receivers go on the joint site inspection with the issuer? To discuss hazards and risks proactively in advance, When should a fire watch be assigned? Whenever a fire could occur. So what would the issuer require when welding on in-service hydrocarbon? Of course, a fire watch be required. What must the fire watch be? He must be trained, actually. The fire watch has to know how to operate fire equipment given to him. So he must be operationally excellent, how to use fire extinguisher, fire blanket, or plenty of other fire equipment. What do we call the person who is required to be at the site because a special skill he has? We need a standby man, of course. When preparing equipment for maintenance work, the issuer must make sure it is shut down, isolated, and de-energized. So D is the right option. Question number 12, a non-flammable material used to purge process equipment with nitrogen. So nitrogen is the right answer. Two common methods of cleaning. So we use water, wash, and steaming. Equipment is isolated to make sure it cannot be start up, leak, or cause electric shock. So we need to make sure no energy is, anyway, is coming on the way while our employees are working. So make sure the energy, any type of, it can be mechanical, it can be hydraulic, pneumatic, or any toxic gases, whatever, any kind of energy, you need to isolate, you need to lock it up. And that is why, especially for the confined space, this blinding and disconnection, both methods are acceptable. Like single wall or double block and bleed, these are not acceptable for confined space isolation. So choose two methods of isolating. So removing piping and installed blinds. These are like disconnecting piping and also installed blinds. So B is the right answer. Remove fuses from an electrical circuit or disconnecting electric wire is an example of what? Isolating electrical equipment. So a little bit technically, you have to be sound on lockout, tagout, and isolation procedure actually, or as per Saudi Aramco. Now, why do we install blinds in the process? To prevent liquids or gases from the contacting people. So B is the right option. Now, D, installing locks and tags on electrical breakers prevent what? Accidental startup of the equipment. Why do we install tags as well as locks? To explain why the lock is installed. Who from the work crew install locks? One member from each crew. So your safety, your responsibility. You are the one going to put your lock. You are the one going to remove your lock. But remember, operation is the first one to lock and the last one to remove the lock. Now, the issuer must try to start up equipment at the field switch after it has been isolated and before work starts to make sure it cannot accidentally start. So that was question number 21, and the D is the right option. What happens to operations locks and tags installed on equipment when operators shift change? The keys are usually transferred to the new shift. So you have to remember that one. The reasons for the equipment must be energized and depressurized before work is started is because people can be injured, right? So you truly need to technically and logically need to remember all these things. Now, who should be the first organization to install locks and tags? So I already told you that is operation. So C is the right option. Now, what must operation do before removing their locks and tags? Make sure the equipment can be safely started. So C is the right answer. So let's move on for exam number 3. What is one hazard with doing hot work? Ignition source, of course. The use of air compressor in an operating area requires which permit? Hot permit. Again, cover the COs is required. Again, which permit? Hot work permit. 4 types of permits are there, like cold work permit, hot work permit, and CSC, like confined space entry permit. And of course, we also have EULB, equipment opening line break. So 4, and there is another, like, I would say radiography permit, but that's a different story. But as a WPR, you must be capable to achieve these 4 permits to be permitted by Saudi Aramco, as per your knowledge, as per your technical grounds, your experience, your education, and of course, now they are considering nationality as well. Now, cold work includes scaffolding and using a backhoe. No, that's not the right answer. Sand removal and scaffolding building. A release of hazardous liquid or gases permit is required when pipe fitters open a line or install blinds. Choose 3 things you should check before issuing a release permit: wind direction, drainage, and ignition source. Remember these 3 points. Choose 3 things before needed allowing entry to a confined space: lightning, signed by man, and also air mover. Which are 3 types of gas tests we take? Oxygen, flammable gas, toxic material as well. What is oxygen deficiency? A lower than normal amount of oxygen. What does the duration box tell the receiver? When the work must stop. That is the purpose of duration box. The information entered in the exact work location box is important because it controls where the receiver can work. Why does an issuer need to know what equipment will be used at a job site? Of course, it will help him, to identify the hazards. What must the issuer do if a joint site inspection is not done? Right? Why not done on the work permit? Of course, they have to give a reason. Why the checklist section important to issuers and receivers? To make sure important steps have been taken. Use a fire blanket or hand dig only are examples of what? Additional precautions. What information does the gas tester enters on the work permit? Gas test results, name and batch number is important. As per question number 17, the right option is A. What should the issuer do if gas tests are not needed? You can enter not applicable or not needed. But technically, you have to prove why that is not needed. What must the issuer write on the work permit? Name, organization code, and badge number. What must the receiver write on the work permit? Name, organization code, and batch number. Who can extend a work permit? New issuer and receiver. Who can close a work permit? Issuer and receiver also. And 23 question number, where could an issuer find out which permit to issue for a specific job? On the back of any work permit. It's coming up to the front even at some level. Now, a pipe fitter cannot work on the same piece of equipment using a welder's work permits because each type of work involves different hazards. It's not like the same work permit you can use for other activities as well. Work permit can be issued for up to one operational shift. That means the shift can be for 8 hours, it can be for 12 hours. But remember, the work permit will be issued, first of all, only for one operational shift. And that operational shift could be like 8 hours or might be 12 hours. The last, the number 4 exam, sample exam, which will be helping you to pass Saudi Aramco work permit receiver exam, inshallah, quite easily. You can get prepared with a lot of other questions and answers, but please, these are the important ones, and don't ignore these 4 example exams. Now, question number 1 of number 4 exam, what happens if work must continue past the time the original permit was to expire? Extend the permit and issue a new one. Who must sign a work permit to extend it? The new issuer and receiver, of course. Who is responsible for safety at the workplace after the permit has been extended? The issuer and receiver who signed the extension. So you are the signatory. That means you are taking the whole responsibility on your shoulder as a Saudi Aramco approved WPR. So your signature are very much valuable. You are not going to sign simply and later on you're going to say, oh, it's not my fault because no one was cooperating, nobody was taking care of safety. No. What was your role actually? Okay, work permit can be issued up to 30 days if it is highly unlikely that the condition will change. Who must sign a work permit issued up to 30 days? Operations and maintenance, division heads. If a work permit is not issued, an emergency, what must be done to do the work? All safety precautions must be taken. The issuer must stop work if the job site was found to be unsafe. What must the issuer do with the permit after he stops work? Write the reason on the permit. The receiver must stop work if the work site become unsafe. What must the receiver do if he stops the work? Tell the issuer, simple. Question number 11. What should be a good example of when the receiver stops work? He hears an emergency alarm, that is why he's stopping the work. So there must be a reason to stop the work. It's not like simply you're a WPR, so you will simply stop the work. Technically, logically, you have to prove and give a solid reason why you're stopping that work. What might happen if a safety problem arises and the receiver does not stop the work? A fire, injury, or accident? Of course, if you will ignore, if you dare to ignore safety, then try and have an accident, right? And on the other side, sometimes we say, if you think safety is expensive, then go and try an accident, right? When the work permit be closed, when the work is finished and clear leaves, who must sign the work permit to close it? Issuer and receiver. Why must permits be closed? To communicate the status of the work. How long must the issuer keep closed work permits in his file? At least minimum 3 months. A receiver is a senior craftsman. The receiver's main responsibility is in complying with safety precautions and signing the permit. That is your major responsibility as a work permit receiver. Why is designated representative sometimes used? The issuer may be busy and need help. That is why we need a designated representative. What can the designated representative do? Inspect the work site, is fully authorized, and I always mention responsibilities without authorities is nothing. Responsibilities without authorities and resources, again, is nothing. So what is the right combination? Make sure you have responsibility plus authority as well as the required resources. Then start believing yourself that you are accountable now because you have resources, you have authorities, you have responsibilities also. What joint responsibilities did issuers and receivers share? Safety in the work site, of course. Question number 22. What is important that they should tell the receiver about safety hazards find at the job site. The receiver may not have worked in the area before, so you will see some repetition of questions, because these are four exam modules or a kind of exam samples. What two things must the issuer do before issuing a work permit? Check the receiver certificate and get counter signatures. The second last question of the number 4 exam: who goes on the JSI, joint site inspection? Of course, issuer and receiver. And the last question of the number 4 exam is: what two things must the receiver do before receiving a work permit? Read the permit and agree to all conditions. So please practice these 4 exams again and again, and inshallah, be ready to achieve 100% marks with Saudi Aramco. Subscribe our channel, like, share with your loved ones, your friends, whoever want to make his bright future with Saudi Aramco. Please give them this opportunity. After all, we all are, it's our ethical responsibility to help each other. So help your channel, Best International Training Zone. Please share with all others, and let's help our community without any discrimination. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye bye.